What's good, everybody? It's your boy Icon with a special review for you. And this was something I wasn't going to do, but especially because of what happened in night 2 of WrestleMania. This is your WrestleMania weekend review. It's the Icon here, going over the entire weekend of WrestleMania. We're going to do NXT Stand and Deliver. We're going to do both nights of WrestleMania. I'm not going to... there's certain matches I'll talk more about than others, but we're basically just going to go down the entire card for all 3 shows and talk a little bit about all the good stuff and where things go from here. So, to kick things off, it was NXT Stand and or Deliver, and I was excited about this. And kudos to every single person in California that actually showed up for the NXT live event, because the show started at 1 p.m., Eastern Standard Time. And I don't understand why, you're already in California for 4 days. Thursday is wide open. Either do the Hall of Fame on Thursday and then do NXT Stand and Deliver on Friday after Smackdown, or do NXT Stand and Deliver on Thursday, and so this way you don't have to have it on Saturday at 1 o'clock in the morning. But at 1 p.m. in the day. But the crazy thing is, it was 1 p.m. for us here in the East Coast. But if you were on the West Coast, you had to be at that arena at 9, 10 o'clock in the morning to watch this damn show. And it's and I understand. And for the performers, for the wrestlers, I'm just like, damn, y'all have to perform. You guys have to wake up and actually wrestle and put on a show for this audience at 10 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time. So that was crazy. Something needs to be changed about that, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, so they had a pre-show match, and this is something we didn't get on the main show, but we had a pre-show match, and I was surprised because the pre-show match was that Chase U versus the Schism, and I've been keeping my eyes on this feud. I haven't been diving into it 100% because I'm not really a fan of the Schism, the whole Schism gimmick. Though I will say this: Ava Raine, Simone Johnson, she has wrestling gear now. She did a little bit. She didn't do a lot. She didn't do, she did a little bit. And and to be honest, when I saw her in the beginning, when she was 18 and she first joined the PC, she had a certain size. She was actually a lot thinner, and now she's bulked up. You could tell she's been training, she's been working out. But her Samoans, Samoanisms are showing. When I saw her in full ring gear, and then saw the difference between her and Thea Hale, I was like, Jesus Christ, this girl is you could tell she's both Samoan, black, Puerto Rican or whatever the case may be. But that said, she did a good job. She did a good job. All parties involved did a good job, because the whole point of the match was, if the Schism wins, because Chase U has never beaten the Schism, if the Schism wins, then they were gonna own Chase University. And Duke Hudson, he was actually losing faith in Chase University. He said that they joke too much, they celebrate losing, and it's a lot of bullshit. And then in the end, and they were planting the seed that the Schism was going to basically try to recruit him onto the dark side. And he did take the bait for a few moments. He kind of took the bait, and then in the end, he put the Schism t-shirt on, but then at the last minute he ripped it off, and he decided to stick with Chase U. And then he fought with Chase U, they did what they had to do, and then they actually won the match. So I was happy. And I guess this storyline is over, because honestly, this is the only win that Chase U got in this entire feud. So I guess it's a wrap. I don't know where Chase U goes from here. I don't know what the drama is with Duke Hudson. They even had Tyler Bate on their team. So I don't know what's gonna happen. If they continue this feud a little bit more, I won't be surprised. But I'm just more kind of okay, whoop Chase U's ass, 10 matches in a row. They beat you the 11th time, so it's just does Schism walk away? I don't know. Yeah, but kudos to everybody involved, and it's a good opening match to, for NXT Stand and Deliver. And now we'll talk about the main show. The NXT Women's Championship match was the opener for the show, for the main show. It was the ladder match for the title. You have Roxanne Perez, Taya Valkyrian, or I'm still calling her Tyler Valkyrie from NXT UK, but Valkyrian, and then you got good old Indy Hartwell. I wish he'd stop putting them thumbs up. Then we had Zoe Stark, and for the love of God, Tiffany Stratton, who I don't understand. I swear to God, it's not that I have a problem with Tiffany Stratton from an athletic standpoint, but but from a wrestling standpoint, this is specifically talking about wrestling, she's the most basic looking female wrestler, in the entire WWE. She's blonde, she has a tan, she has enhancements, and it's the typical, 1990s, early 2000s WWE prototype female wrestler. And because Shawn Michaels is in charge, I feel like he's only pushing Tiffany Stratton because she's blonde. And then when you think about it, and this has to be mentioned too, from a female standpoint, because I understand like a lot of things happen as far as the men are concerned, but from a female standpoint, there is so like where was the like the representation? Like like where were the black women? There was no Lash Legend. There was no Casey, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. Like there was no Amari Miller. There was no Jakara. Like I'm like I know y'all got black people in this locker room. like there. So you're trying to tell me like no black female? Like hell, I'll even take Sol Ruka because she's mixed. But you gonna tell me no black female in that locker room qualified for this championship match? Anyway, so then and then we got Gigi Dolan. She was also in the match. So they have the ladder match. The ladder match was cool. And again, this is something that, all women involved like need to be praised for, because to do this type of match again at 10 o'clock in the morning, like at 10 o'clock in the morning, like it's pretty cool. But in the end, it came down to Indy Hartwell. Well, there was a moment where like one of the girls had went over the top rope and landed on all the other girls, so they were all laid out. And then Indy Hartwell was the only one left standing. She tried to climb the ladder, and she couldn't climb the ladder because she took so much of a beating during the course of this entire match that her body was giving out on her, and she didn't have the strength to climb that ladder. And then Dexter Lumis popped up out of nowhere. He came from under the ring, and then he cheated and helped catapult her up to the top of the ladder. And because the girl is like 7'10", she was able to reach up without getting to the top of the ladder and rip the championship. And I will say this, because Indy Hartwell has been taking a lot of shit on NXT TV over the last like few weeks or so. She's been losing a lot of matches, and then she's been doing the whole frustrated gimmick where she's frustrated because she can't get a win. I thought this whole thing was because they were going to bring her up to the main roster, but apparently this was they were breaking her down to build her back up. And Indy Hartwell is your new NXT Women's Champion, and I'm actually happy for her, because I swear to God, if they would have put that belt on Tiffany Stratton, I would have thrown something. And it's nice to see someone, because the Indy's been around for a while, so it's nice to see somebody who's been there for a while, who's been in the dirt, who's who's been in the thick of it, who's been involved in a lot of stuff, to finally get that recognition. And and even the whole thing with Roxanne Perez, I don't have a problem with Roxanne Perez either. It's just like, I don't know, maybe she's just too cutesy and like too mousy for me, but it's hard to buy Roxanne Perez is one of those characters where she actually needs to be a heel, because like the sugar and spice and everything nice, like it doesn't, like for her it doesn't work for me. But and where the hell's Cora Jade? What happened to Cora Jade? But anyway, so we'll see, because like I said, indie wrestling, she's the champion now. And now there has to be challenges, because like who does she fight? Like are there going to be new people that show up on NXT? I would like to see her actually drop the belt to Last Legend. I would personally like to see Last Legend, Jakara, and Amari Miller become a faction, but that's wishful thinking on my part, and we're moving on. But again, we have a new NXT Women's Champion, and I look forward to seeing what Indy Hartwell has to do going forward. The next match was the triple threat match, the D'Angelo family versus the Creed brothers versus them Gallus boys, and I like the Creeds. I do not like Tony D'Angelo's gimmick at all. Like every time he's on my TV, like I change the channel unless he's wrestling somebody that I like. And I like Gallus. Like I like them. I mean, like they're good old fashioned Gallus boys. Like I like Gallus, but there was no excitement. I mean, other than having Ivy Nile out there. Like there was no oomph to this match. And honestly, I thought this would have been better if it was just the Creeds versus Gallus, like one-on-one. Like if it was just a straight up like one-on-one tag team match, it would have been a lot better. Like having the triple threat aspect of it just kind of like mucked it up a little bit. And I was a little, like I said, I was a little bored with it. And then in the end, like Joe Coffey, he came back, because I was the whole time, even when Gallus won the tag team titles, I was like, where the hell is Joe Coffey? So Joe Coffey came back. He helped his brothers, his family win, and them Gallus boys are still on top, and we're moving forward. Then we had the North American Championship match, and like the Fatal 5-Way. And I like Wesley. I like Ilya Dragunov. I like the attitude of JD McDonough. I do not give a damn about no Axiom. And the other guy, I have no idea who Dragon Lee is. So, I mean, it was a cluster, a cluster, what, and there was a lot of flips, a lot of I don't know, it's weird, because it's like I like a lot of these guys, but I don't know how I felt about all of them together. Like it was still a good match. It's just like, yeah. But in the end, like I want to see Wesley just have like a feud with somebody. Like pick one person and just have a feud with this one specific person to see what because all this multi-man stuff, because it's hard to gauge like his talent as a champion, because when you're in a multi-person match, somebody else can beat the crap out of someone and you can just sneak in at the last second, which is kind of what happened. That's how you won the match. Like Wesley is still your North American champion, and now that that NXT Stand and Deliver is over and we've gotten everybody on the card, because a lot of these multi-man matches were just about getting everybody on the card. Now that everybody's on the card, give this boy one person that this boy can fight and he can feud with, and he can, like, hell, bring Trick Willie in. like let Trick Williams fight, but I don't know. Wesley needs like one specific opponent. And I said, but good showcase by everybody involved. And we're moving on to the next match. Next, we've got Grayson Waller versus Johnny Gargano, and this was no holds barred, as Jim Cornette would say. That's very lazy booking. And I will say this. Johnny Gargano won the match, by the way. But I will say this. It was cool to have, I didn't like the fact that it was like an unsanctioned match. I wish they would have just had like a regular wrestling match. But it was cool that when Johnny decided to take time away from wrestling, Grayson Waller was the one who beat the living tar out of him. It was nice to see the callback to have that specific moment come full circle. Because, clearly Johnny wasn't even going to be on WrestleMania, but somebody still had enough sense to say, hey, since you're not going to be on WrestleMania, let's finish that beef that we ended you on in NXT and have it come full circle so you can get your comeuppance. And that's one of the things about wrestling. I love callbacks in wrestling. I love when y'all do something and then y'all go back to something that you did because it makes what you did feel more important. And it does feel important. It honestly, like, seeing Johnny back in an NXT setting kind of makes me feel like he never should have left. But, his wife was there. Candice was there. She wasn't on WrestleMania either. So Candice was there with the churn. Like, they both cheated to beat the crap out of Grayson Waller. And the Garganos reign supreme. And that beef is finally over. And we'll see what Grayson, because now, like, Carmelo Hayes, he's the, he's the man now. So what's Grayson Waller going to do? Like, who's he going to beef with? Is he going to get called up to the main roster because the Monday night after WrestleMania? Who knows? But we'll see. So we'll see what happens. But kudos to the Johnny family. And then at the end of the match, Johnny Gargano, Candice LeRae, Indy Hartwell, and Dexter Lumis all showed up without Austin Theory, and they all held their hands up high, like the way, and all that other stuff, indie wrestling, everything's all hunky-dory and beautiful. Now, this is probably going to be a very unpopular opinion throughout the social media wrestling world, but the women's tag match, that's the match I was actually looking forward to the most. And the reason why I was looking forward to this the most, first of all, I don't know what it is. Like, I can't explain it. There is something about Isla Dawn, boy. Like, I'm in love with Isla Dawn. And watching her beat the piss out of Alba Fire for like the last 2 months has been very entertaining. And it got to the point where she beat her ass so bad, Alba Fire was just like, look, I can't beat you, bitch, so we might as well team up. And I like the two of them together because Alba Fire has like the whole fire gimmick with the baseball bat, and she's like, she comes from a long line of like female warriors. And then, Isla Dawn, she has the whole white witch thing, and then she got the sexy, like overseas accent and everything, and she dresses very risque, and I like that too. And I don't know, I like the pairing with the two of them together, and I thought they make a very interesting and in a really entertaining tag team. Like, they look like, to me, they look like two women that could actually be together. And but also the storyline with Kiana James and with Fallon and with Brooks and Jensen and them, I kind of like that too, because it's not a big storyline, but it's one of those small storylines that they plugged into the show. And because they're an odd couple, the whole thing with Fallon, basically you have like a face teaming up with a heel. The whole face-heel dynamic with them being tag team champions, with her having, like Brooks, wrapped around her finger, and then Josh and Fallon thinking that she's cheating on him with the next dude and like all this other stuff. I don't know, like, I'm a sucker for storylines. Like, I like storylines. And there's just, aside the fact that Kiana James was fine as hell, like, there's a lot about this storyline that it's like a guilty pleasure where it piques my interest. And I wanted to see how it was going to play out, because when they won the tag team titles, I knew they weren't going to be tag team champions for long, because I was just like, no, they're an odd couple. There's no way this is going to last. But I was like, maybe for entertainment purposes, maybe it will last. Like, we don't know. But in the end, it actually did not last. And, because there was a moment where Kiana had asked Brooks to pass her bag. I don't know if she had a brick in the bag. I don't know if she had like brass knuckles in the bag. There was something in her bag why she wanted the bag. And Fallon and, the other Josh, they immediately assumed she wanted the bag because she was trying to cheat. And they kept telling Brooks, don't give her the bag. Now, in Kiana's defense, we don't know what was in the bag. But because, Brooks decided not to give her the bag, like Isla Dawn and, Alba Fire, they got the drop on her. They put her down for the count. And now Alba Fire and Isla Dawn are your new tag team champions. And this is why it's entertaining me, because now the storyline between Fallon, Brooks, Jensen, and Kiana continues. And I'd like to see where this, where this goes, where this is all headed, who her actual boyfriend is, because we know it ain't Brooks. But Also, having Alba Fire and Isla Dawn as the tag team champions now, I feel like now we're going to get an actual legitimate tag division, and I want to see these two women in the ring actually having good tag team matches. So again, this is actually my favorite match of the night for storyline purposes. Not because of the actual wrestling, but for storyline purposes. So I'm looking forward to Tuesday for this specifically, and I like to see where everything goes. And kudos to everybody involved because I was deeply entertained. But I said I understand I'm probably in the minority on this one, but so be it. Because like I said, I love me some women's wrestling, and this was good for me. So we're moving on. And the final match of the evening was for the NXT Heavyweight Championship match: Carmelo Hayes versus Braun Breaker. And if it isn't obvious to everybody at this point, Braun Breaker is most likely showing up on either Raw or SmackDown because he lost the Trick Williams cheated his ass off. Like the theme of WrestleMania this weekend was interference. There was interference out the ass on this entire weekend of WrestleMania. And Trick Williams was not a stranger to that as well. Trick Williams cheated. He got kicked out. He came back. He bust Braun over the head with the belt. And it got to the point where when Carmelo Hayes hit the leg drop and he pinned Braun Breaker and he won the championship, and then Braun Breaker got up and he wanted to they even did the passing of the torch moment where Braun Breaker actually handed the belt to Carmelo Hayes, which also signals that Braun Breaker's not sticking around that much longer. When the two of them were standing face to face and Braun was looking at Carmelo Hayes, Trick was standing behind Carmelo. Braun looked at Trick Williams and Trick Williams was like, "Look, my bad, dude." Because I was just like it was almost like shit like that almost ruined the match. In the end, like I said, the right result happened. Carmelo Hayes is your new, NXT, champion. And again, he's obviously not going to get the call up for a while now, but it's interesting to see what's going to happen now because who's going to challenge this man? Is he going to fight Dragunov? Is he going to fight JD McDonough? Like, are we going to get some new challengers that are going to come up in NXT that, to fight this dude? Because if he truly is him, then he won't have a problem defending the belt, against some of the best talent that NXT has to offer. So we'll see. And we'll see what happens with Braun Breaker. Like, where does he end up? What show does he go on? Who does he beat up first? Like, hell, have him fight Bronson Reed. That'll be a banger after banger. But kudos. I said kudos. Like, Braun Breaker was a good champ. I had nothing against Braun Breaker. I like Braun Breaker. I like Braun Breaker as the champion, but his time has come. He's been on the show for a year, and I believe he is ready for the main roster. Like he's definitely he's ready to squeeze himself in that whole mix, and we'll see what happens. And I think he's dating Cora Jade too, so whether or not she gets the call up, we'll see. But we're moving on, and that was a good show for NXT. Like definitely good show for NXT. Like NXT always delivers. Like no pun intended. And it's one of the shows where like it legitimately leaves you wanting more. Like I do want to see what happens, with all these matches, and like I'm interested in these characters. But I will say this, y'all need more black women on this show because the black female representation was not represented. But to everybody that was represented, and I understand you can't fit everybody on the show, but to everybody that was represented, kudos to you, did a good job. And I give the NXT show like an 8 out of 10. And we're moving on to the big show, which is WrestleMania. So to kick off WrestleMania, a little bit of the wrestling. No pre-show, which is sad. We should have at least got a women's battle royal. But the opening match for night one, this is night one of WrestleMania. And the show opened with Austin Theory versus Juan Cena. And I was not at all, like having the belt on the line ruined the match for me. I'm going to be honest with you. Because if it was a regular straight up fight without the belt, then the stakes would have been higher. But I'm just like, especially, and then when I found out that the match was going to open the show, I said, so basically Cena just wanted to get this shit over with so he can get the hell out of the building. And it was a cool entrance though, because the whole thing with John Cena, when he came in, he had his entrance where they did a whole Make-A-Wish thing for him, where they had all the Make-A-Wish kids, and then all the kids came out to the stage when Cena came out for his entrance, and then he hugged all the kids, shook all their hands, and then he was like, I gotta go to work. And then wouldn't you know it, John Cena let all the kids down, and then he lost to Austin Theory. But Austin Theory, he cheated his ass off. Like, he hit him in the nuts when the referee wasn't looking. He hit the A-Town down. He pinned John Cena, and he picked up the 1, 2, 3, which makes perfect sense because you were not going to have John Cena be the United States champion when he's not even a full-time wrestler. The problem now is, where does Theory go from here? Because does he wrestle Braun Breaker? Like if Braun Breaker shows up from NXT, but then it's like, why would Braun Breaker just automatically come in and get that, and get that shot? But I don't know. There needs to be another draft to kind of like reshuffle the deck here because Like I said, there are a lot of wrestling matches in this whole pay-per-view, this whole weekend. When the match was over, you were there wondering, well, okay, now what? Like the theme for that was like, now what? What's next? Like I'm gonna be saying this a lot in a lot of matches. But like I said, nice to see John Cena pop up. Nice to see Theory get the win because it puts him over as as a top main event talent. He's still the United States champion, so it makes the belt more important. And we're moving on to the next match. And the true champ, Austin Theory, is here. Next match was the tag team showcase, and it is still unclear whether or not the winner of this match is supposed to receive a tag team title shot. They said that about the women, but they didn't specify it about the men. And it was Ricochet and Braun Strowman versus the Street Profits versus, the Viking Raiders versus who the hell was the other team? I forget versus, how could I forget? The Alpha Academy. Sheesh. I don't know. I find it funny. But, and the highlight of the match, aside from the fact that the Street Profits did like a new inverted finisher where Dawkins had somebody on his Dawkins basically, the guy was laying on his knees, he's holding him up, and then Tez came off the top rope and frog splashed him on his back. That was actually pretty cool to see them do that. But I have to say Chad Gable stole the show in this match. And then the whole thing with him doing the shoes, and then even there was a moment where he was wrestling Braun Strowman. And he did that rollout German suplex when he rolled up, and Chad Gable with the strength, with that wrestling strength, picked up Braun Strowman and got him up in a rolling suplex to the point where the fans lost their collective shit. And then everybody gave this man a standing ovation. And then he got on the top rope, looked at the crowd and said, "Oh, thank you." And then I started laughing because he says thank you all the time to the fans. And every time he says it, they boo him. That was the first time he legitimately earned that thank you. And I was just like, this is very entertaining. But there was no Maxine Dupree. Like I thought Maxine Dupree was gonna show up, and then no Maximum Male model. So I guess we're not gonna get the tea, tonight. But we'll see more on that to come. More on that to come. But the Street Profits did get the W. Ricochet almost killed himself at least 7 times in this match, and I'm ready for the Ricochet Braun Strowman team up to end. It's WrestleMania. It's over now. So can we please move on to something else? And then for the love of God, let Valhalla do something because I don't know what the Viking Raiders are even doing here. Like I said, but we'll see what happens now, because after you saw the results of the men's tag team match, it's interesting to see what they do with the Street Profits now. And are we still keeping the belts together? Are we splitting them? Because I can see the Street Profits maybe taking, one pair of belts from. But I don't know, but we'll see. So, like I said, kudos to the Street Profits, and we move on to the next match. Logan Paul and Seth Rollins was up next. This was a good match. It's not the match I thought I was gonna get. I can't put my finger on it, but there was just something about the match that wasn't what I expected it to be. But with that being said, it's still a good match because both of these guys are athletic as fuck. And, Seth Rollins is one of the best. And Logan Paul is probably the best rookie I've seen in a long time outside of Pat McAfee. So to see these two mix it up was actually cool. Logan Paul did the Shawn Michaels entrance, and I was just like, that's rough territory. Anytime they hang someone from the rafters, I always get nervous. But, he was a true heel. And Logan Paul as a heel needs to continue. He brought out, a spokesperson, mascot from one of his energy drinks that he sponsors, and then that person accompanied him to the ringside. Seth Rollins, to his credit, because it's WrestleMania, so you got to get a WrestleMania entrance. Seth Rollins actually came out with a maestro, and then the maestro proceeded to do the and I was like, that was cool. I don't know what the hell Seth was wearing, but that was actually cool to see that. There was and this was a cool spot in the match, and this is very hard to do because one of the people that was the person who was inside the costume ended up being one of Logan Paul's boys, one of his YouTube boys, and he was cheating to help Logan Paul win the match. There was a moment where Seth Rollins was on the announce table and Logan Paul was going to jump off the top rope onto the announce table. But then when Logan Paul basically looked up into the sky before he jumped on the table, Seth Rollins pulled his boy onto the table and then he frog splashed his boy instead. And I was like, that was a cool spot only because it's hard to pull that off without the person jumping off the top rope seeing what just happened. So the fact that they did it in a way where Logan Paul would jump, not realizing that Seth got replaced with his boy, I thought was really cool. Seth hits the curve stomp, gets the 1, 2, 3. We're not going to see Logan Paul again probably for another couple of months, and Seth Rollins has to fight somebody now, but maybe Austin Theory, I don't know, but let the music play as Seth freaking Rollins picks up a victory at WrestleMania. Next up was the 6-man tag. I understand it's WrestleMania and the good guys, especially the returning veterans, should get the win at WrestleMania, but this didn't do a damn thing for damage. Like, Damage Control looks really bad. And I don't know if, like, when the Raw after Mania comes, either they need to add a new member to Damage Control or they need to break up, because this is, like, I don't know. Like, I mean, I would have I mean, I can't even say that because, like, Becky and Lita are the tag champions. So I don't know. I mean, it was still a good match. Like, I enjoyed seeing all 6 parties involved. I mean, I love me some Lita. Like, I love Trish, but Lita looking real slow out there. And watching Lita sell was a little brutal at times. It's like, I'm not gonna lie, only because she just moves slow. And then in my mind, I'm like, I can't remember if she always moved that slow, or is it just like, you know, like she's a little rusty and like out of practice. She did pull off some interesting moves though. Like, there was some, as they say, some innovative offense that she pulled off. You know, like she, you know, so at least it shows that from a mind standpoint, she can come up with new stuff. But I don't know, maybe at this point, Lita just needs to be a trainer, and to have her be the one to take the punishment, to get her ass beat by Damage Control throughout the course of the entire match, you know, like, I thought that was a bad choice. It probably should have been like Becky or Trish, but then, you know, they did the whole, she could still pull the moonsault off, which was good. Io Sky pulled her moonsault off, which was good. I did like Bayley in this match because Bayley was mocking Trish and Lita throughout the entire night. Like, like, whenever she had Becky, she would like punch Becky in the face and then walk over to Trish and do the finger point, and then she would beat up Becky, and then she would walk over to Lita and do like the, you know, like the Hardy thing. So Bayley actually kind of like added some entertainment to this match, and I like that. And the opening that she did, that Becky did, was cool. They had the whole comic book opening where it was like the man, you know, with her 2 like sidekicks, whatever. But obviously Becky, Lita, and Trish got the win. So, you know, like the good guys win. Damage Control was sitting on the floor looking dejected, like they don't know what the hell's going to happen next, which they don't, because none of us knows what's happening next. And they're still the tag team champions, so we got to find somebody to get the belts off of them, which we probably will when you saw the results of the women's Fatal 4-Way tag team match. But I said, but good piece of business, good piece of WrestleMania business, and we're moving on. But like I said, I don't see where any of this goes, like, going forward, but we'll see then. On to the next one. Now, up next was the match of the night. This match had everything you could possibly want. It had great entrances. It had celebrities. It had interference. It had drama, family drama. Like, this was probably the best match of the entire weekend. Of like if you want like some good old fashioned pro wrestling, please watch Rey Mysterio versus Dominic Mysterio. And as a YouTuber, content creator, whatever you want to call me, I'm even saying I'm looking forward to seeing what Jim Cornette has to say about this particular match. This match started with Dominic Mysterio in prison, and I immediately died when I saw him in prison. And I text my brother and I said, if this son of a bitch comes out in the back of a police car, I'm done. And he came out in the back of he came out handcuffed in the back of a police car. This was so good. He took the ex-con Dom thing to like, Dominic Mysterio is like, I mean, I know I said Logan Paul and I know I said Pat McAfee. There needs to be like a most improved player award. Dominic Mysterio right now is MVPing the fuck out of what's happening in WWE. 95% of the AEW roster can learn something from Dominic Mysterio. So your boy comes out handcuffed in the paddy wagon because, you know, he served hard. He gets into the ring. His dad comes out. Ray came out. You know, him and Snoop Dogg were in a lowrider together. G-Thing was playing. They had the hydraulics going. And then it transitioned into Viva La Raza, like the Eddie Guerrero theme play. And honestly, I kind of wish that Ray would have did the Eddie theme music for the whole entrance, because like it didn't play that long, and then once Ray got out the car, they kicked it to the 619 theme song, and I was like, yeah, I could have kept going with the Eddie shit though, because when I heard the Eddie music and watching them in the low ride, like it actually like made me tear up a little bit. Like I got a little choked up when I saw the Eddie thing, because you know it was like Viva la raza, you know, and even Conan at the Hall of Fame, like Conan was the shit, you know, like in his like even seeing Conan do the orale arriba la raza, like I was just like, damn, like this is like, it's just so much nostalgia. And even during the Hall of Fame, there, and this is why I say like this match had everything. Even at the Hall of Fame, when Rey Mysterio got inducted into the Hall of Fame, Rhea Ripley, Damian Priest, Finn Balor, and Dominic, they were sitting there. The Judgment Day was all sitting in the row. When Rey started doing his speech, the entire Judgment Day got up. First of all, they didn't stand when Rey was announced, and then like during his speech, the entire Judgment Day got up and they walked out on his like on his acceptance speech. This is how you do pro wrestling, because let's like keep kayfabe alive. Like let's not do the thing where just because it's the Hall of Fame, these two are gonna fight tomorrow, he's there cheering for his dad, hugging his dad. He's like, hey, I love you, Dad, but I'm gonna pretend like I hate you tomorrow. No, they played this shit out. Like they're like, even on social media, like, you know, like in public, like they're going all in on this, and this is shit like this is why pro wrestling is what it is. This is why we love pro wrestling. This is everything about pro. Like when the wrestlers live their feuds and live their gimmicks, this is how we get trapped up in this world, and we want to see like the outcome. We want to see the good, the bads, and everything in between. And my kudos to the entire Mysterio family. When Ray came in, when Ray and Dominic had their match, like the mom and the sister was there. And for the love of God, can somebody get Aaliyah Mysterio at the Performance Center, because this girl needs to be in a professional wrestling ring. She has the fire for it. She has the passion for it. And you can tell that if she applied herself to it, she would actually be really good at it. It's a shame that Rhea didn't come out during this match, because she had a championship match, because I would have loved to have seen like Aaliyah and Rhea mix it up a little bit. But there was the moment where Dominic went over to his mom and he was telling his mom, he was like, oh, you're a deadbeat. And then his mom smacked the shit out of him. And then he took a cup and like threw a cup of water in his sister's face, and she almost came over the barricade. But then prior to WrestleMania, Rey Mysterio had reformed the LWO, the Latino World Order, which was basically Legado del Fantasma, and Thea Trinidad. They came out because the Judgment Day came out. Like Finn Balor and Damian Priest came out, and then Legado came out, you know, for interference, because there was a lot of interference at this WrestleMania. They came out for the interference, and then while everything was going on, while the referee was distracted, Dominic Mysterio grabbed a chain, like a steel chain, and he was going to hit his dad with the steel chain. But Bad Bunny, who was on commentary, he was doing Spanish commentary, when he saw the chain, Bad Bunny came from around the table, he grabbed the chain out of Dominic's hand, and then when Dominic turned around, he was like, yo, bro, what are you doing? That's when his dad hit him with the 619, dropped the bomb on him, and Rey Mysterio won the match. After Rey won the match, you know, he celebrated with Legado, and then he brought his wife in, he brought his daughter in, and then they had a good shot when Rey was hugging his wife and then hugging his daughter. They had a good shot of Dominic being escorted out of the arena by Finn Balor and Damian Priest. And then I think Balor said to him, like, oh, that should have been you, you know, like that was your moment. They took that from you. So this is going to continue, and I'm not mad. Like I'm honestly not mad, because in order for Dominic to, because Dominic Mysterio has arrived as a performer, as a top-notch talent, but in order for him to take that next step, to take that next level, to be catapulted into that next stratosphere, he does have to beat his dad at some point. Even if they do have a rematch at Backlash, Dominic does have to get a win. But like I said, this was the best match of the show. This was the best match of the night. Hell, this was the best match of the whole damn weekend. I was in love with this fight. This is a match that I could watch like over and over and over and over again. This match itself gets a 10 out of 10. It gets a 10 out of 10 for me. And, you know, who would have thought? Like, who would have thought Dominic and Rey would have stole the show, you know, like at WrestleMania for me anyway. But yeah, I mean, kudos, like coup de grace to them. And we're moving on to the next one. But I am super excited to see where this particular storyline goes from here. And again, my hat's off to every single person involved for making this magic happen. Next up was the Smackdown Women's Championship, Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte. And let me just say what we were all thinking, because I'm gonna be honest, it's not that no one cared about the match, because the crowd was pretty dead for the beginning of the match. Like, they got into it towards the end. And even me, like, I didn't care. People that I spoke to, it's not that we don't like Rhea. Nobody cares about Charlotte. And I feel like everyone just watched the match to see Rhea win. It wasn't, because it's almost like you want Rhea to have a good match, but then when you find out she's wrestling Charlotte, you're kind of like, it's like, it's like you just want to get to the end already. It's like, let's just have Charlotte lose the belt already so Rhea can get the damn belt and then move on to wrestle somebody who we actually care about. But with that being said, I will say this. because Charlotte is one of the best. She's not the best. As far as I'm concerned, the top 5 female wrestlers to me specifically, Sasha Banks is 1, Bayley is at 2, Charlotte is 3, Bianca's 4, and I got Becky at 5. And I'm just talking about wrestling, like actual like in-ring wrestling. But anyway, it did get brutal in this match, like towards the end. Like the two of them, like there was bleeding involved. It was very physical. And in the end, you know, Rhea had basically like waffled Charlotte's face over the head with the ring post, and then she got her up on the top rope. She hit a riptide, put her down for the count, and then Rhea got the 1, 2, 3. And for some reason, one thing because Rhea, I know at one point she had a kneecap issue, and she said that she's had this kneecap issue her entire life where her knee just pops out of socket and she always has to pop it back in. And with that being said, both her and Charlotte were not wearing knee pads. And I'm just like, why? You know, like, are you trying to hurt yourself? But anyway, Rhea got the W. Rhea is the SmackDown Women's Champion. Thank God. Hopefully Charlotte disappears for a while. And if she does, we're not going to see her again until SummerSlam. And then she'll probably win the belt again too. And I'm over Charlotte at this point. Like, just give her the damn 16 title wins so she can go away. But anyway, so like I said, but here's the interesting thing. Because the Judgment Day, they're Raw superstars. And now that Rhea has won this match, Rhea is now the SmackDown Women's Champion. So now is Judgment Day going to get traded over to SmackDown? Is Rhea specifically just going to be on SmackDown? Are they going to come with her? Is Dominic going to come with her? I don't know. But there is more competition on SmackDown for Rhea to defend this title because you got Ronda, you got Shayna, you got Raquel Rodriguez, Gonzalez, Hernandez, Ortiz. You know, we got, you know, like there's a couple other, I mean, Liv Morgan's on the brand. Like Lacey Evans is there, Xia Li's there. There's more talent on the SmackDown roster capable of being in championship feuds for Rhea versus had she wrestled Raw. Because like on Raw, it's basically just Bianca, Asuka, and I'll even go as far as to say Mia Yim. So outside of those 3, there's not really anybody on Raw you can kind of look at as like heavyweight championship material. So I kind of want, like I said, we need a brand split. Like Triple H needs to revisit the brand split, reshuffle this thing, and call up some people because it's a clusterfuck right now. Like there's really, it's odd. Like it's very odd. But if you're the SmackDown Women's Champion, one can only argue that you will be defending the belt on SmackDown. So I look forward to seeing Rhea Ripley's going to be on Raw on Monday, but I do look forward to seeing her on SmackDown as well and to see who the hell she's going to challenge going forward. Pat McAfee wrestled The Miz in a cringe-worthy match, and this happened twice, actually. We'll get to the second one later, but I'm annoyed by this because of the Bobby Lashley aspect of it and the LA Knight aspect of it, but we'll get to that later on in the show. And the main event of night 1 was the match that should have main evented night 1, the Usos versus Sammy and Kevin Owens. And it's been a long time coming, and you know, we all know what we wanted to see. We all know what we would have liked to have seen, and we got what we wanted. First of all, Sami Zayn got the ever-loving shit kicked out of him throughout the course of this entire fight. I'm not even joking. Like, if you want to see, like, you thought, like, the triple threat IC title match was brutal, go back and watch this tag match with, you know, with the Usos versus Owens and Zayn. And the whole time I was watching the match and we were getting all these near falls and everything, in my mind, I knew for a fact that this match was not going to end until Jey Uso got pinned by Sami Zayn. And that's exactly what we got, because after Kevin Owens hit the stunner on Jimmy and Jimmy fell out of the ring, Sami Zayn pulled his dead carcass up from off the mat. He hit Jey Uso with 3 haluva kicks. Jey Uso fell to the ground. He got the pin on him. He got the 1, 2, 3. The babies went in the air, as they say. And Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens are the new undisputed tag team champions. And all was right for the world, at least for night 1. And now, do the Street Profits wrestle them? Do the Usos get a rematch? Like, is the bloodline cracking? We don't know. I mean, we do know. We did find out. But yeah, no, this was the right call, and unlike other matches, but this was definitely the right call because you had to get the belts off them. You did the whole thing with Sammy and Kevin and the Usos, so. And to have it be Sammy pinning Jey Uso, it meant a lot in the end. And I said, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for both guys. Like, I applaud both guys. But again, the question remains is, where do we go from here? I mean, Triple H said that he's got all this stuff planned out, you know, for like months and months, and we'll see. The intrigue is back in wrestling, and I'm not mad at that because I'm definitely intrigued about where the stories are going to go. I'm intrigued about who's going to show up, like who's going to beef with who, what's going to continue, what's not. So kudos to night one. Like I said, night one was a solid 10 for me. Like night one was probably the best WrestleMania I've seen in a while. And unfortunately now we have to review night two. But there was still some good at night two. It wasn't as good as night one, but there's still some good at night two. So let's move on to WrestleMania night two and the showcase of the Immortals. So the first match of night two was Brock Lesnar versus Omos. I kind of wanted Omos to win this match because he already lost to Lashley at last year's WrestleMania. And the guy is 7'4" and 410 pounds. At some point, that has to matter. You have to beat somebody at some point. You can use the argument that last year he was still new, he was still green, he was still a rookie. He didn't have MVP, he didn't have a manager. But now the boy done bulked up, he slimmed down a little bit, he got into better shape, he has MVP by his side. He should have beat Brock. I'm sorry, like he should have beat Brock. And he dominated Brock for 4 minutes of this 5-minute contest. Brock hit 4 moves on him and pinned him 1, 2, 3. I do like the fact that in the end, Omos was screaming at Brock saying like, it ain't over yet. Like it ain't over. You got lucky. Like I had you. So hopefully they'll let Omos get his win back. But I mean, again, I was very disappointed by the outcome of this, and it's a typical Brock match. But if you're gonna give us a typical Brock match, at least give us something different. Like he should have lost. Like he honestly should have lost because I thought we were in the business of making new stars here. So it would have did a lot more for Omos's career to get that win than would have for Brock to get that win. But Brock won, and we'll see when Brock decides to show up for work next and what the hell he's gonna do because ain't too many people left for him to F5. So we're moving on. Next up was the women's fatal 4-way match, which they repeatedly said would determine who gets a shot at the women's tag team champions. I don't know why they didn't say that about the men. It was Liv Morgan and Raquel Gonzalez Rodriguez, Hernandez Ortiz, Santiago Vega versus Shotzi Blackheart and Natalya versus Ronda and Shayna versus the Karen sisters of Sonya Deville and was that girl named Chelsea Green. I was happy. I like Sonya. I like Chelsea. I like Liv. I like Raquel. I was happy to see Shayna and Ronda in the match because for the love of God, we needed some star power. We could have had Mia Yim. We could have had Xia Li. We could have had Lacey Evans. For the love of God, we could have had Candice LeRae. We could have had Candice LeRae. We could have had Nikki Cross, Doudrop. There was, I don't know where Carmella is, but shit, we could have got There were so many other people that could have been chosen. I don't understand why we went with Natty and Shotzi. I would have even taken Natty and Skittles. What's that girl name? I forgot the girl name. The girl, the shiniest wizard. Like Ronda keep calling her Skittles. I would have taken her in a tag match with Natty. I just want when you put Shotzi in the match, the first thing that popped in my mind was, yeah, that's who's taking the pin. And lo and behold, guess who wouldn't you know who won the pony? That's who took the pin. And Ronda, who we were told was injured, she was banged up, she has an elbow issue, whatever, but kudos to her for still showing up for the match. And her and Shayna actually won because Ronda didn't do jack during this entire match. Everybody else beat the shit out of each other. And then when everybody was beat up, worn out, and left for dead, Ronda basically came in, slapped the armbar on Shotzi, and Shotzi tapped out immediately. So now Ronda and Shayna are supposed to fight Lita and Becky for the women's tag team championships, and I have no problem with that. And there are rumors that Trish Stratus is supposed to turn on Becky Lynch and then feud with Becky Lynch. So if that's true, that's how we get the tag titles on Ronda and Shayna. And then once you do that and get the tag titles on Ronda and Shayna, and I'm like, who the hell are taking these things from them? So there's some interesting things in the woodwork. Ronda's been very vocal about wanting to be a tag team champion with Shayna Baszler. And I suspect that Backlash, they'll win those women's tag team championships, and hopefully Ronda will be 100% healed by then. But we'll see. But like I said, I was fine with the show. I was fine with the showcase. Like I said, I love women's wrestling. I have nothing against women's wrestling. But if I'm being honest, there were other people I would have preferred to see in that spot versus certain people who were there. Tegan Nox, that's the girl name. Skittles' name is Tegan Nox. I don't know why I forgot that. Now, next up, and here's where I'm getting upset. Bobby Lashley was supposed to wrestle Bray Wyatt. For whatever reason, that didn't happen. Bray Wyatt, went home. He got sick. They said that your ideas are trash. I don't know. Bobby Lashley got left without an opponent. And he was campaigning all over social media for somebody to fight him. They did Miz versus Pat McAfee in night 1. And then later on, we'll just skip ahead for a minute, they did another thing where they had Shane McMahon versus Miz in night 2. And Shane McMahon tore his quad. Snoop had to step in. Snoop beat The Miz and got a pinfall victory over The Miz. And Snoop is a winner at WrestleMania. We didn't need this twice. We did not need this twice. What bothers me, it's not so much the fact that we got the exact same thing twice with The Miz. They could have did a thing where Lashley came out and Lashley wrestled The Miz and beat The Miz and got a victory over The Miz. Or LA Knight has been saying for the last 2 months that you can't have an LA WrestleMania without LA Knight. Yeah. And it would have made so much more sense had LA Knight come into the ring, talking his shit, talking about, let me talk to you, and saying that there's nobody in the locker room that has the guts to come out and face LA Knight and get put down on the biggest stage of them all at WrestleMania. That would, and then as soon as he says that, the almighty theme music plays, Bobby Lashley shows up, we get a one-on-one match between LA Knight and Bobby Lashley slaps the Hurt Lock on him and gets the 1-2-3 victory. I don't understand why that was so hard to do. Instead, they had Bobby Lashley come out with, wearing his, once he came out in the suit and tie, I was just like, yeah, he's not wrestling. He comes out in the suit and tie with the damn Andre the Giant Memorial Trophy and then did absolutely nothing about it. Roman Reigns had said in the Roman Reigns match, Michael Cole ran off the accomplishments of all the people that Roman Reigns has beaten. He named every single person that did, that basically got put down by the bloodline. All the challengers that Roman Reigns had defeated. The one person whose name did not come out of Michael Cole's mouth when it comes to fighting Roman Reigns for the championship was Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley deserves better than what he got. And because they gave him the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal win, hey, he could have fought Bronson Reed. That would have been better. But because they gave him the win, Lashley needs to be the person to fight Roman Reigns now. Because Roman Reigns is talking all this shit about all the people he's beaten. You ain't beat Bobby Lashley. And I need Bobby Lashley to represent, show up, show out, and snatch that gold off of Roman Reigns' shoulders. And yes, I just spoiled the main event, but I don't care because it's all about the Almighty. And I need Bobby Lashley. I need them to get behind Bobby Lashley right now because it's either Bobby Lashley or Gunther, and that's not going to happen with Gunther, so it got to be the almighty Bobby Lashley. Speaking of Gunther, next match was the IC Triple Threat match. It's always good to see the Intercontinental Championship being defended at WrestleMania. Drew McIntyre versus Sheamus versus Herr Gunther, and good lord, like, they beat the shit. Like, the only brutality worse than this match had to have been the beating that Sami Zayn took at the hands of the Usos. But with that being said, Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre won that crowd over and got everybody excited and got people off their seats. They got a standing ovation based off of a chop exchange. They didn't go through tables. They didn't go through orange juice. They didn't light cells on fire. There were no barbed wire, tic tacs, and no fire bats and none of this other stuff. It was just basic 3 people beating the shit out of each other. And that got the fans to pop bigger than anything I've seen in AEW. This is legit wrestling. I know Jim Cornette's not going to like it because of the triple threat factor, but dear God, like, these men beat the piss out of each other. And I thought Sheamus was going to win because they kept talking about how he's never won the Intercontinental Championship. And I thought they was going to give him the rub. I thought this was Sheamus' moment to win that gold, but no, the reign of Gunther must continue because the mat and the ring is sacred, and the ring general is once again your Intercontinental Champion. I can't put my hands behind my back. I tried. Now, next up for me was the match of night 2. This was the best match, in my opinion, of night 2, which is crazy because it had the worst build of any match for WrestleMania, which was the Raw Women's Championship match between Bianca Belair and Asuka. I liked Asuka's entrance. It was cool. I don't know where she got all them people from, but Bianca came out with, I believe it was the Divas of Compton. It was like an all-girl like dance group, and there was one girl who did some contortionist shit where, like, she laid on the floor and put her feet over her head and stood. It was very gross. Like, I don't have the stomach for things like that, But we later found out when I watched the press conference, like the later on press conference, Triple H had said that little girl who did that contortionist stuff, her mother had passed away that morning. and my heart broke and my heart went out to that little girl, because it was the girl that danced with Bianca after she did the whole contortion thing. And I said my heart goes out to that family, and kudos to that little girl for even showing up and even doing the performance. And hopefully, big things will happen with her in the future. She'll go on to become a great dancer or anything in the entertainment field that she chooses to do. And much love to Bianca Belair for bringing that little girl out and dancing with those. Bianca had one of the best, like Bianca's entrance was the second best entrance. Like number one has to go to Dominic, but it definitely has to go to Dominic. But but kudos to Bianca Belair for doing that. And she's always good at like giving back to the community and showing up and showing out, as she likes to say. The match between her and Asuka was a bona fide 100% pure wrestling match. And it was good wrestling. It was great wrestling. Asuka is one of the best. Like Asuka hasn't been in the starlight, for a while. She hasn't been put out there in a while. And this match reminds you how good Asuka legitimately is. Like it's not a question. And I was surprised when I found out that they said that Asuka's never won at WrestleMania, and I was just like, that shocked me. Like I was legitimately surprised, like she's never won a WrestleMania match. But it's crazy because they're using her to put other people over. But Asuka's so damn good, and this match flowed so well. Like this match was like this was women's wrestling. The match between Rhea and Charlotte was women's wrestling, but it was brutality. I'm talking about, if you want a technical, they need to use this match to teach at wrestling schools. Like that's how good this match was. And in the end, like the right outcome happened, but it's one of those things where Bianca got the victory in the end. She avoided the mist. Asuka avoided getting whooped by the hair, but Bianca managed to, to deadlift her up for the KOD and to get the 1-2-3 victory. And Bianca is actually 3-0 at WrestleMania. And I didn't realize that until actually because I was thinking about her matches and I was like, wait, she beat Sasha, she beat Becky. I mean, we're not counting the Battle Royal she did before she wrestled Sasha, but I was like, Bianca, she's 3-0 and she beat Becky, she beat Sasha, she beat Asuka. She needs to beat Charlotte now. She already beat Bayley, but she needs to put, like, once she beats, there's only one more horse left to be put out to pasture, and Bianca needs to get that dub off of Charlotte Flair. But like I said, this was a great wrestling match. Like this was a very, I could watch this match over and over again. Kudos to both women involved, but Bianca needs challengers, because the problem is all the worthy challengers for Bianca Belair are on SmackDown. The only person on the Raw roster who I can think of off the top of my head that will pose a credible threat to Bianca Belair's championship is Mia Yim. There's nobody else. Like she done beat Piper Niven, she done beat Nikki Cross, she done beat Carmella, she done beat Chelsea Green. There's no one. She done beat Becky, she done beat the whole Damage Control. Like there's nobody left. And now she just beat Asuka. Give her a match between Mia Yim, have her wrestle Mia Yim in Backlash, and then call up some people from NXT or bring Raquel Rodriguez over to Raw and let her fight Raquel. But the girl needs something to do now, because people are starting to talk about her title reign, and they're starting to talk about her being stale. And it's not Bianca that's being stale. I mean, I will admit, although the EST is her gimmick, I would like to see her come out and cut a promo on different ways of referring to herself as the EST, because I do feel like she recites the exact same verbiage over and over again. But when the girl's in the ring, she can't be touched. And the problem with her title reign, it's not her. They're not finding good enough challengers, credible challengers for her to fight. Whenever she gets into a feud with somebody, the person that she's in the ring with does not come across as a viable threat. She needs more threats. She needs legitimate threats. So let's get some legitimate threats out there. Let's get some girls called up from NXT. Not Zoe Stark. Like Zoe Stark can't be no Bianca Belair, but we'll see. Like I said, we'll see what happens. But again, kudos to both women involved. Love me some EST. Love me some Asuka. And I definitely look forward to seeing where these two women go going forward. But your EST is still the Raw Women's Champion. So at this point, and then they had the whole Shane McMahon Miz thing again, where Snoop won that ridiculous match. So there were only 6 matches on this card. We blew through the first 4.5, 5 matches if you count the Shane McMahon Snoop Dogg debacle. We blew through 5 matches in less than an hour and a half. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, this is supposed to be like a 3-4 hour show. 6 matches and we've only got 2 left. And then it dawned on me, the Edge cage match is going to take forever. And when the Cody Roman match finally starts, it's going to take Roman Reigns a half hour to get to the goddamn ring. Like, that's where all the time's going to go. So, but next up was Edge versus Finn Balor. And I wish I cared more about this. I honestly do. Finn Balor was dressed up as the Demon. And although it was nice to see the Demon, it just didn't... the Demon doesn't impress me anymore, because maybe it had to do with what happened with the whole Brock Lesnar thing, but I don't know. It's like, the Demon is dead. Like, and it wasn't like the feud between the two of them was so intense that Finn Balor had to say, you know what, Edge, in order to defeat you, I'm bringing back the Demon. Edge asked for that. So if Edge asked for the Demon, it says that Edge doesn't even really truly value the Demon as a viable threat. Otherwise, he never would have asked for it. And it just took away from the whole thing for me. And but to have the, I don't know. Like I said, there was just something about it that just didn't connect with me, and I wish I cared a little bit more. But in a surprise, like in a surprise result, because I thought Edge was going to lose. Because I was just like, Edge, because Beth and Edge won the tag match. So I'm just like, well, since they won the tag match, that was technically his W, so he's got to lose here to put over Finn Balor. But nah, Edge won this shit. And I was like, that was the most entertaining part of the whole thing. Like, he won. The only member of the Judgment Day that got a W was Rhea Ripley. So, I mean, Rhea Ripley is obviously the leader of the Judgment Day. I don't know what Finn Balor, but I don't want to see the Demon again. Like, if Finn Balor does the Demon again, he needs to reinvent that gimmick and come up with a brand new Demon, because the one he got now ain't popping. So Edge got the W. I can't, I don't know. Like, the booking was questionable. It's not that I have a problem with Edge winning the match. It's almost like, why? What does he do now? It's like, I mean, he did get the ultimate revenge over the Judgment Day, I guess, but I don't know. It's like, does Edge wrestle Roman Reigns now? Like, I don't know. But at this point, night 1 of WrestleMania was better than night 2. It was definitely better than night 2. Because a lot of things that happened in night 2 was actually, like, very questionable. But like I said, Edge won the match. Like, Edge won the match. So we'll have to tune into Monday Night Raw to see what happens from there. And finally, the match that literally we've all been waiting for. Careful what you wish for. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns for the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. I am so disappointed. Like, I was watching Stand and Deliver. I was hyped. Night 1 was awesome. Night 2 had a lot of great things that were going on, some questionable stuff, but it was good. It was going good. And I'm like, here we are, the final match, the main event. We just need to bring it home, and then this will probably be one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time. And for the love of God, matter of fact, I'm not even going to say they Lex Lugered him, because that would imply that he would have won by countout. They Booker T'd Cody Rhodes. Roman talked so much shit throughout the whole build-up. Paul Heyman talked so much shit. Cody Rhodes came out talking about his daddy, winning it for his family, winning the big one, finishing the story. They Booker T'd him so bad. And the interference was ridiculous. So, like, Solo Sikoa got kicked out of the match because he was cheating throughout the whole thing, and then he came back. He gave the Samoan spike, which is why Cody lost the match. The Usos showed up to cheat. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn showed up, to interfere. That was fine. Kevin Owens gave Roman the stunner. Sami Zayn gave Roman the haluva kick. That was fine. Cody should have won this match. And I know Triple H said in the press conference that the story isn't over. This is just chapter 3, and there's a bigger chapter to go, but no. Unless Bobby Lashley is the one who ultimately defeats Roman Reigns, I don't give a shit what their plans are. Cody should have won this match. I'm sick of Roman with the belts. I'm sick of Roman not showing up on Monday Night Raw. I'm sick of Raw not having a champion. And I wanted Cody to win those belts because I thought Cody was going to then relinquish the Universal Championship and give it back to Smackdown so we can crown a new Universal Champion, keep the WWE title, and remain on Raw. The only two people that Roman hasn't beaten yet for those titles is Gunther and Bobby Lashley. So if it's not Gunther or Bobby Lashley, unless you bring Moose on to the show, like, who the hell is going to beat this dude? And it was just, but I will say this. As disappointed as I am, Roman's entrance was cool, though. He had piano people playing his entrance music. That was actually cool. I like that. But the thing about it is, although I didn't like the outcome, the build up to this storyline was still amazing. It was still the most entertaining thing in sports entertainment. And we can't deny that. We can't deny that forget about the outcome. If it was the outcome that you didn't want, forget about that. We got something that we've been begging for in professional wrestling for years. We got invested. We wanted the WWE to give us something that got us mentally and emotionally invested in the characters and the build-up and the story, to the point where everybody tuned in. Everybody spent their money. Everybody came together. There were WrestleMania group parties that were put out all over social media because the WWE did something that got us all collectively invested into their product. And with that being said, and although they basically brought all the horses, like they say, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't let him drink. What they did was the WWE Pied Pipered all the horses to come to the pond, only to discover that when you finally convinced all the horses to show up, there was no water in the pond for them to drink. And I'm mad at the outcome, but I'm not mad that they made me care. It's because they made me care, which is why I'm mad Cody didn't win. I'm not mad because I'm like, oh, it was horrible booking or like this. Like, no, I'm mad because I was emotionally invested and I didn't get the ending that I want. And it sucks. It's like, it sucks, but I can't be mad at that because in wrestling, the good guys don't always win. We got to remember that. The good guys don't always win. Like, sometimes the bad guys win. I mean, Roman's been winning for 3 years, but this is why we love pro wrestling. Like Dominic Mysterio throwing water in his sister's face, seeing that emotional aggression come out of his family. We want that. Like, we want the drama. Whether we get the results we want or not, we want the drama. We want to be entertained, and we want something to believe in the world of professional wrestling, and they gave us that. That being said, night one was still better. And thank you for tuning in. So this was a long review. This is a long recap, but it was worth it because I enjoyed this weekend of wrestling. I'd be lying if I said I didn't. It would have been perfect had Cody won the belt, but he didn't win the belt. But it still doesn't take away from that this was one of the greatest WrestleMania weekends I've ever watched, witnessed, and been a part of. If WrestleMania ever comes to New York or Florida, I'm there. The next time WrestleMania is either in Florida or anywhere close to New York, I'm there. They're doing Philadelphia next year. I don't know how I feel about Philadelphia, but we'll see. But share your questions, comments, and/or concerns down below. What did you think of WrestleMania the entire weekend? Let me know what you thought about NXT, about night 1, night 2. What was your favorite matches for all 3 of these events? What was your least favorite match? Where do you think these storylines go from here? Who's going to be Roman's next challenger? And we'll talk about it in the comments section. Hit me up on Twitter and/or Instagram. Hit me up on Hive, too. I'm on the Hive app now, so that's actually going to be pretty interesting to see if that turns out to be a thing. New social media app, so we'll see. Like I said, but hit the notification bell, subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't already. And I guess until next year, maybe we'll do SummerSlam. Like, if SummerSlam proves to be a good show, maybe I'll review SummerSlam too. But unfortunately, y'all, put your ones in the air because the Tribal Chief is still the champion. He's still the one. Until next time, for WrestleMania weekend, for all the sports entertainment goodness that we love and enjoy, I'll catch you on the flip side. And I'm out this bitch.